This is Audible.
This is Innovative Language Learning. Go to innovativelanguage.com/audiobooks to get the lesson notes for this course and to sign up for your free lifetime account. The course consists of lessons centered on a practical, real-life conversation. In each lesson, first, we'll introduce the background of the conversation. Then, you'll hear the conversation 2 times. 1 time at natural native speed and 1 time with the English translation. After the conversation, you'll learn carefully selected vocabulary and key grammar concepts. Next, you'll hear the conversation 1 time at natural native speed at the end of the lesson. Finally, practice what you have learned with the review track. Before starting the lessons, go to innovativelanguage.com/audiobooks to get the lesson notes for this course and to sign up for your free lifetime account. Lesson 1.
This series is designed to introduce you to absolute beginner and beginner level Japanese.
We'll also introduce Japanese culture, customs, and some useful set phrases.
The main character of this series is Ashley Jones, a 29-year-old American woman. She works at the New York office of a Japanese car manufacturing company called
Nissan.
This series is about her business trip to Japan. In Lesson 1, you'll learn 3 critical Japanese sentence structures. First,
How to say yes and no. Then, how to say A equals B.
or
A is B. And also the question form of the sentence. Is A B?
Now, before each dialogue featuring professional voice actors, we'll give you the setting for the conversation, the characters who will appear in it, and the relationship to provide context. So, in our first lesson, this conversation takes place on
Skype.
As you may already know, Skype is a software program that allows users to make telephone calls or exchange instant messages over the internet. The conversation is between
2 colleagues, Ashley and her colleague Daisuke Honda.
Now, Ashley works at the New York office. Daisuke works at the company headquarters in Tokyo.
It looks like they're chatting on Skype on the day of Ashley's departure.
Now, in Japanese, there are basically 3 levels of formality.
Informal, formal, and honorific.
Honorific is mainly used in business situations. As a beginner of Japanese, knowing informal and formal speech is enough.
In the dialogues, you'll hear some honorific phrases that are commonly used. But as a beginner, it's okay to focus on using just the informal and formal speech patterns.
So Naomi-sensei, what's the level of formality of the conversation? Or maybe I should say audio chat.
Since they're colleagues, they use formal Japanese.
This lesson references All About Japanese Lesson 5, Bootcamp Lessons 1 and 2, and Appendix 2. Let's listen to the conversation.
Ashley さん、
本田くん、こんにちは。
出発は明日ですか？
いいえ、今日です。
今日。
はい。
ああ、ニューヨークは朝ですか。
はい。今4時です。出発は11時です。
じゃあ、良い旅を。
はい。じゃあ、また後で。
One time slowly.
アシュリーさん、
本田くん、こんにちは。
出発は明日ですか？
いいえ、今日です。
今日。
はい。
ああ、ニューヨークは朝ですか。
はい。今、4時です。出発は11時です。
じゃあ、良い旅を。
はい。じゃ、また、後で。
Now with the English translation.
アシュリーさん、
Ashley? 本田くん、こんにちは。本田くん、hello.
出発は明日ですか？
Is your departure tomorrow? いいえ、今日です。No, it's today.
今日。
Today? はい。 Yes.
ああ、ニューヨークは朝ですか。
Oh, is it morning in New York?
はい。今4時です。
Yes. Right now, it's 4 o'clock.
出発は11時です。
My departure is at 11.
じゃあ、良い旅を。
Okay, have a nice trip.
はい。じゃ、また後で。
Okay, well, see you later.
4時? So she's chatting with Daisuke at 4 in the morning?
Maybe she's doing some last-minute packing.
Ah, I see.
Or she could be busy preparing for a presentation at headquarters.
To fully understand this dialogue, I think we need to explain the time difference between Tokyo and New York.
That's right. There is a 14-hour time difference between Tokyo and New York. In the summer months, the difference changes to 13 hours due to daylight savings in the US. So that means that if it's 4 a.m. in New York, it's 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. in Tokyo.
That's why Daisuke said, ああ、ニューヨークは朝ですか。
Oh, is it morning in New York? Another thing I want to point out are the name suffixes, san and kun.
Oh, yeah.
Now, Ashley called Daisuke Honda, Honda-kun, Mr. Honda. Honda, or Honda, is his family name. So she calls him family name plus,
くん、
but Daisuke Honda, or Daisuke Honda, calls her
アシュリーさん。
first name plus son.
Right. Unlike English Mr. or Ms., you can attach san or kun to either someone's first name or family name. Kun is mostly used for men, but san is used for both men and women.
So my name is Peter Galante. So I could be called
ピーターさん、
or
ギャランテさん。
now most of the time people refer to me as Pita-san.
Yeah.
That's more common for foreigners taking their first name and tacking on san. In Japanese, it's the opposite. Most people use the last name and tack on san. Now, there are some more name suffixes in Japanese, and we have a detailed write-up about it in the lesson notes. Naomi-sensei, before we move on, I want to cover one more thing.
What is it?
Daisuke Honda refers to Ashley as Ashley-san, her first name plus san.
Mm-hmm.
Ashley refers to Daisuke Honda as
本田くん。
Now, these suffixes tell us something about their relationship.
Yeah.
What does it tell us?
We could guess they're in the same social status, or Ashley's social status is higher than Honda.
Quite a unique thing about Japanese. Because Ashley used kun, we know that there are two possibilities. One, Daisuke has a lower social status than Ashley. Or two, they're on the same level.
So it means you can never use kun to your boss or customers.
Naomi-sensei, well said. If you did use it to someone in a higher social status, it would be considered rude. A little piece of advice, when you're in doubt, use san.
Yeah, I think it's safe.
In the case of a teacher, we have a different suffix.
Right. 先生。
This can be a teacher, such as a classroom teacher, an instructor, such as a martial arts teacher, and a lot of times people in the professional services, lawyers, doctors, accountants. Okay, on to the vocabulary. In this section, we'll give you the word at natural native speed. This will be followed by the English equivalent. Next, we'll break down the word by syllable to help you catch the word and help your ears get adjusted to Japanese. Finally, we'll give you the word one more time, natural native speed. First word,
出発。
departure.
出発。出発。
Next,
明日。
tomorrow.
明日。明日。
Next,
ニューヨーク。
New York.
ニューヨーク。ニューヨーク。
Next,
今。
now.
今。今。
Next,
朝。
morning.
朝。朝。
Let's have a closer look at the usage for some of the words and phrases from this lesson. Naomi-sensei, what's the first phrase, actually phrases, we'll be looking at?
はい and いいえ。
Yes and no respectively. Now, as we learned in All About Japanese lesson number 5, hai also has the meanings of okay and right.
はい。 Right. And be careful when you say いいえ. It has a long E sound.
It's spelled E-E, but it's pronounced E. It's a long vowel.
Right. いいえ.
Without the long vowel, it becomes ie, which is
House.
house.
So be careful. And speaking of long vowels, 今日 has long O sound too.
So, 今日 means today.
Right. It's spelled 今日 but pronounced 今日.
Okay, what's the next word?
4時.
4 o'clock.
よ means 4. じ means o'clock.
Now, Nami-sensei, shi also means 4, right?
Right.
Can we say shiji?
No.
This is one of the cases where it's always yoji. In the dialogue, we also had
11時.
11 o'clock.
11, 11, じ o'clock.
How to talk about time in Japanese is explained in appendix number 2. There you can find a detailed chart for hours, minutes, basically a whole lesson just about time. Next, let's move on to the goodbye phrase that appeared in the dialogue.
Sure. We had 2 phrases.
What's the first one?
じゃ、良い旅を.
Have a nice trip. Let's look at the components of this phrase.
じゃ,
Means, well then.
良い
Means good.
旅.
Means trip or travel.
So if we say 良い旅を, it means have a good trip. It's a set phrase. 良い旅を. Have a good trip.
So, じゃ、良い旅を can be translated as, well then, have a good trip.
Right.
Daisuke Honda said, 良い旅を to Ashley, and Ashley says,
じゃ、また後で.
well, see you later. Let's break this down. Again we have,
じゃ、
well then.
また
Again,
後で.
later. Literally, well then, later again.
Of course, see you is inferred.
Yes. So, well then, see you again later, or see you later.
Of course, you can say じゃ、また or じゃ、後で.
And this is the shortened version. This means see you later, see you again. Now, there's good news for absolute beginners or beginners. You don't have to say mata or atode because
じゃ by itself can be used as see you or bye.
on to the grammar section. In this lesson, you'll learn how to make simple A is B sentences follow the pattern of
A は B です.
In Bootcamp Lesson 1, you learn the sentence pattern, I am such and such. For example,
私は such and such です. For example, 私は Naomi です.
I'm Naomi. Watashi wa Peter desu. I'm Peter. What we're going to do in this lesson is to use a different noun instead of watashi, I. Let's explain with an example. Naomi-sensei, can we have a sample sentence?
Sure. ケンはパイロットです.
Ken is a pilot.
ケン
Ken,
は
it's a particle that comes after the topic that the speaker is going to talk about. Its English equivalent could be as for, kind of like you're establishing a topic. So far we have
ケンは
as for Ken or Ken. What's next?
パイロット
Pilot.
です.
Des is the polite form of the copula. This is roughly equivalent to the English verb to be, a linking verb, and can mean I am, you are, it is, depending on the context. So let's put this all together. Can we have the sentence one more time?
ケンはパイロットです.
So literally, Ken, pilot is. Of course it means Ken is a pilot. Now, Naomi-sensei, what if you want to say Ken is a dancer? That would be?
Dancer in Japanese is dancer. So, ケンはダンサーです. Ken, dancer is.
Ken is a dancer.
Right.
So we establish this pattern. A is B.
A は B です.
Now let's explain how to form simple questions.
It's very simple. When you put か at the end of the sentence becomes a question.
The word order doesn't change as it does in English. In English, the verb comes in the front of the sentence. For example, is Ken a pilot? That comes in the beginning of the sentence. In Japanese, you don't have to do that. Simply adding ka to the end of a sentence turns it into a question. Let's illustrate with some examples. Naomi-sensei, how do we say Ken is a pilot?
ケンはパイロットです。
Now, how do we ask, is Ken a pilot?
ケンはパイロットですか?
That's it. No change in word order. Just add ka to form a question. Let's do one more example. How do you say Ken is a dancer?
ケンはダンサーです。
How do you ask the question, is Ken a dancer?
ケンはダンサーですか?
Let's take a look at a question from this lesson's dialogue.
In the dialogue, Daisuke Honda asked, 出発は明日ですか?
Is departure tomorrow? Of course, your is inferred. Let's take a look at the components of this question. So first we have
出発
literally departure, but your is implied. Followed by
は
topic marking particle. So we're establishing that we're talking about departure.
明日
Tomorrow
です
is
か?
question. So literally, your departure tomorrow is. Of course, we translate this as, is your departure tomorrow? Or, are you going to leave tomorrow?
We also had 出発は11時です。
Literally, departure is 11 o'clock. In this case, my is omitted.
出発は
As for departure,
11時
11 o'clock
です。
is. As for my departure, 11 o'clock is. And of course, when we put this into proper English, my departure is 11 o'clock. Okay, let's recap with a quiz. The quiz will be multiple choice. We'll give you a question and 3 possible answers. Your job is to guess the answer. Okay? First question. Which of the following suffixes is attached to the teacher's name? A,
さん
B,
くん
C.
先生
The answer is C.
先生 teacher
On to the second question. Which of the following phrases means goodbye? A,
じゃあまた
B,
こんにちは
C.
いいえ So the answer is A じゃあまた
On to the translation exercise. A is B.
A は B です
Ken is a pilot.
ケンはパイロットです
Is Ken a pilot?
ケンはパイロットですか? Did you get it?
In the next lesson, you'll learn how to introduce yourself using the grammar from this lesson.
A は B です
See you in the next lesson.
じゃあまた
Listen to the entire conversation once again.
Now listen to the dialogue one more time, natural native speed. This will reinforce everything you just learned about grammar and vocabulary.
アシュリーさん、
本田くん、こんにちは。
出発は明日ですか？
いいえ、今日です。
今日。
はい、
ああ、ニューヨークは朝ですか。
はい、今4時です。出発は11時です。
じゃあ、良い旅を。
はい、じゃ、また後で。
Practice with the review track.
3、
Polite name suffix similar to Mr. or Ms.
さ、ん、さん、くん、
Name suffix used for males.
く、ん、くん。こんにちは。
Hello.
こんにちは。こんにちは。いいえ、
No.
いえ、いいえ。出発、
Departure.
出発、出発。 はい。
Yes.
はい。はい。ニューヨーク、
New York.
ニューヨーク、ニューヨーク。明日、
Tomorrow.
あした明日。
Today.
今日、今日、今日。
Morning.
朝、朝、朝。
Now.
今、今、今。
4 o'clock.
4時、4時、4時。
Well then. Okay.
じゃあ、じゃあ、じゃあ。
Lesson 2.
In the previous lesson, we learned the sentence structure A equals B or A is B.
A は B です。For example, 出発は明日です。
My departure is tomorrow. And we also learned its question form. Is A B?
A は B ですか ?For example, 出発は明日ですか
Is your departure tomorrow? In this lesson, you'll learn how to introduce yourself using a sentence structure from the previous lesson. That sentence structure is
A は B です。
A is B.
And also, we'll introduce a lot of useful phrases.
As we mentioned in the previous lesson, before each dialogue, we'll give you the background, the setting of where the conversation takes place. So, Naomi-sensei, this conversation takes place on?
An airplane.
In the last lesson, Ashley was talking on Skype with her colleague and getting ready to leave for Japan. In this lesson, Ashley is going to Japan on business and she just boarded the plane. She has a window seat and she wants to sit down, but the gentleman sitting in the aisle seat is in her way. She's trying to get his attention so that she can make her way through, so the conversation is between
Ashley and a man. I think he's Japanese.
Now, since they don't know each other, they'll be using
Formal Japanese.
Now, before you listen to this lesson, we strongly recommend you listen to All About Series Lesson 5, Top 5 Must-Know Japanese Phrases, and Bootcamp Series Lessons 1, 2, and 3.
"すみません。
あ、すみません、どうぞ。
すみません。ありがとうございます。こんにちは。
あ、どうも。
私はアシュリーです。どうぞよろしくお願いします。
あ、僕は豊田一郎です。
はい。豊大地？名前、もう一度お願いします。
豊田
豊田
一郎。
一郎。豊田一郎さん。
はい。
One time slowly.
すみません。すみません。
あ、すみません。どうぞ。
すみません。ありがとうございます。こんにちは。
あ、どうも。
私はアシュリーです。どうぞよろしくお願いします。
あ、僕は豊田一郎です。
はい。豊来地。 名前、もう一度、お願いします。
とよた
トヨタ、
いちろう。
一郎。トヨタ、一郎さん。
はい。
Now with the English translation.
すみません。
Excuse me?
すみません。
Excuse me?
あ、すみません。どうぞ。
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
すみません。ありがとうございます。
Thanks. Thank you very much.
こんにちは。
Hello.
あ、どうも。
Oh, hello.
私はアシュリーです。どうぞよろしくお願いします。
I'm Ashley. Nice to meet you.
あ、僕はトヨタ一郎です。
Oh, I'm Ichiro Toyota.
はい。
I'm sorry?
トヨ、ライチ
Toyo-ra-ichi?
名前、もう一度お願いします。
Could you give me your name one more time?
トヨタ
Toyota?
トヨタ、
Toyota?
一郎。
Ichiro.
一郎。
Ichiro.
トヨタ、一郎さん。
Mr. Ichiro Toyota.
はい。
Yes.
Naomi Sensei, I can tell you it's really hard to catch foreign names.
Yeah, I agree. For me, L and R sounds are so difficult. So Carrie, Lori, Larry are so tricky. So I have to ask many times like, excuse me? Or say your name again, please?
I understand that feeling 100%. So these phrases are essential, especially when you meet someone for the first time. You don't want to end up calling someone by their wrong name.
そうですね, right. But his name wasn't so bad, was it?
Not too bad. What was his name again? もう一度お願いします.
In the dialogue, he said, 僕はトヨタ一郎です. So, トヨタ一郎 is his name.
Toyota is his family name.
Right,
And Ichiro with a long vowel is his first name.
right.
So his name is Ichiro Toyota. Not too bad. Well, I think that's because Toyota is the name of the world-famous car manufacturer, Toyota.
そうですね, right. And his first name, Ichiro, isn't so difficult either.
Well, that's if you're a baseball fan.
あ、そっか.
You may have heard of,
鈴木一郎 or 一郎鈴木.
again, his first name is,
一郎.
as we mentioned in All About Series Lesson 10, Ichiro Suzuki is a professional baseball player who plays in the major leagues.
そうですね, right. He's a huge star in Japan. Everyone knows Ichiro.
And that's why it's important, even if you're not familiar with the major leagues or baseball outside of Japan, you should know that inside Japan, baseball, or in Japanese, yakkyu, is a very popular sport. So when you're learning about Japanese culture, you may want to learn a little bit about baseball and at least a little bit about Ichiro Suzuki.
そうでしょうね, right.
Okay, on to the vocabulary. First word,
どうぞ。
Go ahead. Here you are.
ど、う、ぞ。どうぞ。
next,
どうも。
Thanks.
ど、う、も。どうも。
next,
名前。
Name.
な、ま、え。名前。
next,
僕。
I. Me. Used by males.
ぼ、く。僕。
next,
私。
I. Me.
わ、た、し。私。
Let's have a closer look at the usage for some of the words and phrases from this lesson. Naomi Sensei, what's the first word we're going to look at?
Okay, first of all, I'd like to introduce two first-person pronouns.
Naomi Sensei, stop scaring people with your big bad grammar terms.
A pronoun is just a noun.
Person, place, thing.
Right. And the first person is just the speaker. So we are just talking about the English equivalent to I.
Watashi is the standard word for I.
Right.
Now, it can be used by both men and women.
そうですね. Right.
But in the dialogue, we heard a different word. That was?
僕
It means the same thing as I, but it's usually used by men and young boys to refer to themselves.
In this lesson's dialogue, 私 and 僕 are used. However, they both mean I in Japanese.
When they come at the beginning of a sentence.
そうですね。
Now, Japanese is interesting because there are multiple ways for a person to refer to themselves.
That's right.
Now, watashi is an extremely polite way to refer to yourself. Boku is still polite, but it's primarily used by men and young boys. So these are two polite ways to refer to oneself. There's also very casual, informal way to refer to oneself for guys, which is
俺
and it's a bit rough. And because it's an informal way to refer to oneself, it's mainly used by men and young boys. You probably want to get a grasp on Japanese before you try to use this. It's not something you use when speaking to a teacher or in polite situations. But think about it if a bunch of guys are hanging out together. This is probably the word they would use to refer to themselves, depending on the person. So, Naomi-sensei, what do you recommend for the learners? What should they use?
For newbie or beginners, I would recommend 私 because it's polite and good for both genders. How about you, Peter? Which one do you use?
In polite situations, I usually use watashi. In informal situations, I use boku. Because, of course, because I'm a male speaker. And I like to keep things a little more polite. I rarely use ore, even though I have many Japanese friends and we speak very informal, and they use it too. But when I first started learning, it was just how I was taught that I should probably stick to boku. Okay, what do we have next?
どうぞ
Please or go ahead.
It has a long O vowel. どうぞ It's not どうぞ but it's どうぞ
You hold the vowel.
そうですね, right.
You'll come across this expression quite a bit. One of the best cases I can think of is if you're in the elevator and you're holding the door for someone, you can say,
どうぞ
On the train, if you give up your seat for an elderly person, you could say,
どうぞ
And if you pass something along to someone, say you're at the table, you pass someone some chopsticks.
どうぞ
So, Naomi-sensei, somebody hands you something or someone does something for you and they use the expression, どうぞ, what should you reply?
どうも
As we explained in All About Lesson number 5, the meaning of どうも depends on the situation.
That どうも in this lesson's dialogue has a closer meaning to hello.
Naomi-sensei, let's stay on the topic of expressing gratitude. What are some other phrases that express gratitude?
In casual situations, we use the well-known phrase ありがとう
It's long vowel. Hold the end. Naomi-sensei, one more time.
ありがとう You can use this with どうも and say どうもありがとう
Two long vowels in there. どうもありがとう. Please note that どうもありがとう is a very casual expression. So it shouldn't be used towards strangers or people who have a higher social ranking than you. You don't want to say this to your boss.
Right. If you want to say thank you in polite way, add ございます after it.
So, どうもありがとうございます.
Right. どうもありがとうございます
Thank you very much. Naomi-sensei, one quick question about this. For a long time, I was the customer and I would buy something in a convenience store. As a customer, should I say this to the stores I'm patronizing?
If the clerk was nice to you, maybe you can say どうも but basically you don't have to say anything.
So one of the key things was, and I did it for a very long time, I'd buy something in the convenience store and the cashier would hand me the receipt and I would say, どうもありがとうございます. And I think it's kind of like if you think about it in terms of you're saying to the cashier, I would like to humbly thank you for this. It's nice to do, and if you're super nice, no problem. But most Japanese people, they'll just go with a nice どうも or a different expression.
To express your gratitude, you can say すみません which is our target phrase.
All right, on to the grammar. In this grammar section, you learn how to introduce yourself by giving your name and learn the different uses of the phrase
すみません
and
お願いします
because their meanings are contextual, which means the expression's meaning changes depending on the use of context.
Let's start with self-introduction.
As you learned in Basic Bootcamp Lesson 1, when introducing yourself, start with
私は
Then give your name, and then end it with the phrase,
です。So, for example, 私はナオミです。I'm Naomi.
私はピーターです。I'm Peter. In the dialogue, Ashley said,
私はアシュリーです。
I'm Ashley. Okay, so just recapping. Now on to the usage of すみません. In this lesson's dialogue, すみません was used in 3 different ways. Let's take a look at the different meanings of すみません. First usage. In the dialogue, Ashley said,
すみません。
Excuse me. In this case, すみません is used to get someone's attention. Then Ichiro says,
すみません。どうぞ。
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. In this case, すみません means I'm sorry.
Because he was in her way.
So for its second usage, it's used to lightly apologize.
We also have すみません。ありがとうございます。
The third meaning is thank you. It's used to thank someone for doing something for you. For example, if you're at a restaurant and somebody brings you something and they put it down, you can say,
すみません。
So, すみません could mean, excuse me, I'm sorry, or thank you. For a more detailed explanation, please check out Bootcamp Lesson 3. Okay, on to our next expression, which also changes with context. That expression is,
お願いします。In the dialogue, there are 2 phrases that contain お願いします. So let's review them.
when Ashley introduces herself, she said,
どうぞよろしくお願いします。
This phrase is also introduced in Basic Bootcamp Lesson 1. So the expression, どうぞよろしくお願いします is often used when you meet someone for the first time. Now, English doesn't have an equivalent, but literally, this phrase roughly translates to,
It's really tough, but I'm begging.
So if you think about it this way, whenever you use this phrase, it's I'm begging.
For something.
So you just have to place it with the context. So in this case, you're meeting someone for the first time, so I'm begging that you look favorably upon me.
Or be nice to me.
Yes, exactly. I'm begging for your kindness. And kind of think about this as we go through these next few expressions. Remember, it's the context. The expression's kind of like, I'm begging you, but it's the context that changes the meaning. Let's look at what happens when Ashley can't catch Ichiro's name. She said,
もう一度お願いします。
One more time, please, is how we translate it, but think about it from the begging perspective. One more time, I'm begging you.
Right.
And then from that, we can understand that, could you say it again, please? This phrase was actually introduced in Basic Bootcamp number 3.
もう一度 means one more time. お願いします means I'm begging you or please.
So please, one more time. So you can say, もう一度お願いします when you're asking someone to repeat something. Okay, let's recap with a quiz. The quiz will be multiple choice. We'll give you a question and 3 possible answers. Your job is to guess the answer, okay? First question. Which expression is the most polite way to say thank you? A.
どうも
B.
ありがとう。
C.
どうもありがとうございます。
The answer is
C. どうもありがとうございます。
domo is thanks. Arigato means thanks too, but they're both informal expressions. Put all together
どうもありがとうございます。
is the most polite way to say thank you.
Okay, on to the next question. Which phrase means please go ahead in Japanese?
A.
どうも
B.
どうぞ
C.
すみません。
The answer is
B. どうぞ
please go ahead.
Yeah, どうも and どうぞ sound similar, don't they?
Very similar, 1 syllable difference. That's all for this lesson. In the next lesson, lesson 3, you'll learn how to ask and talk about where someone is from. See you in the next lesson.
じゃあまた。See you!
Listen to the entire conversation once again.
すみません。すみません。
あ、すみません、どうぞ。
すみません。ありがとうございます。 こんにちは。
あ、どうも。
私はアシュリーです。どうぞよろしくお願いします。
あ、僕は豊田一郎です。
はい。豊大地？名前、もう一度お願いします。
豊田
豊田
一郎。
一郎。豊田一郎さん。
はい。
Practice with the review track.
すみません。
Excuse me. I'm sorry. Thank you.
す、み、ま、せ、ん。すみません。どうぞ。
Go ahead. Here you are.
ど、う、ぞ。どうぞ。ありがとうございます。
Thank you. Formal.
あ、り、が、と、う、ご、ざ、い、ま、す。ありがとうございます。どうも。
Thanks.
ど、う、も。どうも。あの、あ、の、あの、
Name.
名前、な、ま、え、名前、
I, me. Used by males.
僕、ぼ、く、僕、
I, me.
私、わ、た、し、私。
Lesson 3.